Hello, my name is Chloe, welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you my favourite books of 2019. So I did just try and film this video and waffled on for far too long when I have this many books to talk about. So I've managed to narrow this down to 15 books. I went through all of the books I gave 5 stars this year, tried to ignore rereads, like I've reread Harry Potter, Twilight, City of Bones, all those things I've reread in the year, and it's not worth me putting them in the best books of the year video, or they'd be in every single year. So I've tried to go for new things that I've read and really enjoyed. All of these I've rated 5 stars on Goodreads, and I just want to share them with you guys. So the first book on my list is Are You Watching by Vincent Ralph. This is the art copy that I was lucky enough to be sent by the author. I won a Twitter competition. He did not find me and send me this book. It was pure chance. I absolutely love this book. So this is about a girl called Jess, whose mom is killed by a serial killer called the Magpie Man. She's actually the first victim of the serial killer. And Jess starts taking part in like a YouTube reality series that she wants to use to find the Magpie Man. Her plan is basically to catch him through sort of enticing him online to react to her. And I absolutely loved this. I think it was the reality element added to this that I really enjoyed, because I don't think I've ever given a pure thriller 5 stars, but it must just be the YouTube side of it that really grabbed me. I tabbed this book up as well. I've got a couple of annotations in there when I've come up with a theory. Don't want to reread it because it's a thriller obviously, but I'm definitely going to be keeping this around on my shelves. Really enjoyed it, really good time, would definitely recommend. The next book on my list is 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott. I read this twice in 2019. I read it in February and I read it again in May. It's only a teeny tiny little book. I've watched the film countless times. So this is about a girl called Stella who has cystic fibrosis, and she goes back into hospital and meets Will Newman. And her and Will have to stay 6 feet apart at all times, so otherwise she will lose her place on the lung transplant list. Because she could catch, he has I don't know how you pronounce it, so I don't want to say it wrong. He has a much worse bacteria in his lungs, and if she catches it, that could be her just done. So she must stay 6 feet apart, and this is the cutest book. If you liked, I don't want to compare it, but if you liked The Fault in Our Stars, then you would definitely like this. It's just great. And even if you don't want to read the book, just watch the movie. It's one of my favourite things to come out of 2019. The next book I don't actually have a physical copy of. I listened to it on audiobook, and that is Girls with Sharp Sticks by Suzanne Young. So this is about Innovations Academy, where girls are trained to become the perfect wives. And everything just seems perfectly normal, but Mina, our main character, starts to realise that everything isn't quite what it seems, and that there may be some darker things going on at the academy. This book, I was so shocked. I didn't read the synopsis before I started listening. It was just a random thing that I picked out on Scribd. And yeah, I'm really glad I didn't read a synopsis for it, because I feel like it would have ruined it. I didn't even know what genre this book sat in. I just gave it a go. Absolutely loved it, and I definitely recommend it to people. It was a wild book. The next book I have to talk about is Starry Eyes by Jen Bennett. So this book was sent to me by Brittany at the Neverending Reader, and I loved it. So this is about Zori and Lennon, who are, it's like a hate to love trope. They used to be best friends, and they do not speak anymore. Their families are like modern day Montagues and Capulets. I couldn't think of the names then. It's modern day Romeo and Juliet, pretty much. So they decide to go on a group camping trip, and everything goes a bit pear-shaped, and they end up stranded alone. And you can imagine what would happen. I sped through this. I'm pretty sure I read it in one day. It does say in here that I started and finished it on the 18th of May, so I did read this all in one go. Absolutely loved it. I've also read Serious Moonlight by Jen Bennett, and this was a definite favourite over that one, and I'm actually now thinking about rereading this before the end of the year, because it was such an amazing book. It's just a cute contemporary, exactly what I like. The next book is one I got out from the library, and I am dying for my own physical copy, and that is Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. So this is about Penny, who goes away to college in Texas, and she's not got much experience in terms of like being really social and boys. She's not sure what to do. And she meets Sam, who is her roommate's uncle, I want to say. And he works at the uni, college, whatever, cafe. And they just end up talking. They become each other's emergency contact on their phones. So he's living above the cafe. He's not got much going on for him in his life, and she's trying to get through college, and they just start talking, and a friendship and relationship blossoms from that. It's very, very simple contemporary, and for that reason I loved it, and I don't think there's really much more to say on that one. The next book is one I read for my travelling book club, and that is The Dollmaker of Krakow by R.M. Romero. So this is another one that I read in one day. I read it in the first day of August and just absolutely loved it. Sadly, this isn't the copy that's marked up with the annotations because I had to give that back to the girl who chose the book. So I went out and bought my own copy within the same week. This is about Carolina, who is a doll, and she comes to life in a doll maker's shop. And it's about the time of the Nazi occupation of Poland. So Carolina, and the dollmaker have to protect their Jewish friends, pretty much. It is the cutest thing. And while all that's happening, there's also... Oh wait, does it actually say a year? 1939. Okay, I should know that, but you know. Around the same time, there is actually a war happening in the Land of the Dolls as well, and it links the Land of the Dolls to Poland in 1939. It was great. I think this is aimed at like a middle grade audience, and I don't quite know how that would go down because it was very, very dark, but I seriously enjoyed my time reading it. Next, I have A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. This is such an amazing book. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, where the main character has cerebral palsy. So that wasn't something I was expecting when I quite went into this book. The spine is literally glaring. It is insane. I have pre-ordered the second book in this series. I loved it so much. But this is about, her name is Harper. She lives in Washington and gets swept up into the world of Emberfall, where there is a monster cursing. There's a curse on the kingdom where a monster is like killing people every year. I don't really know what more to say. It's Beauty and the Beast. We all know the story of Beauty and the Beast. And the curse can only be broken by true love. It's amazing. I do struggle with retellings because it's like, how are they going to make it not the same book? That is really glaring. But this one just had such a special spin on it. I cannot wait. I think it's A Heart So Fierce and Broken is the title of the next one, and that should be arriving at my house within the next couple of weeks. So I will be jumping on that straight away. The next book I have is Done Dirt Cheap by Sarah Nicole Lemon. This is actually an arc from, well, it was coming out in March 2017. I paid for a full copy and got sent an arc. It's a very annoying issue. But anyway, this was one of my favourite books of the year. This is about Tourmaline, who is 18, and her dad is the president of the local motorcycle club, the Wardens, which she's trying not to get insanely involved in. Her mom is also in prison, so she's got that to deal with. And Virginia comes along and wants to be her new best friend, but Virginia is secretly working for a drug lord, maybe? I don't know. And she's asked to infiltrate the motorcycle club, but she actually does make friends with Tourmaline, and there's a whole struggle with that. There's also a little romance struggle in here as well to do with Tourmaline and members of the motorcycle club who are not allowed to date the daughters of other members. It was wild. Absolutely loved it. Motorcycle clubs are like a strange fixation for me, so having that thrown into a contemporary, I absolutely loved it and would definitely recommend this book, firstly to anyone who's watched Sons of Anarchy and loves it, and at the same time loves reading contemporaries. This is 100% your book. You will love it. Next is a book I can't believe it took me so long to get to, and that is A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. So this is about Monty, who is supposed to be preparing to take over his family's estate, but he would rather gamble, drink, and sleep with anything that breathes. Basically is how they try and portray it. So Monty is bisexual in the 1800s. England in the 1800s, probably not the easiest thing to be. So his dad says that he is allowed to go on one final like blowout. They go on the grand tour of Europe, and Monty decides that is when he's going to try and confess his feelings to his best friend Percy. And this is a pretty big book. I listened to it on audio actually and bought a physical book pretty much straight away. I got through this very quickly and I was so hooked in this story. I don't typically do any sort of historical fiction, so this is historical fiction mixed with contemporary, and I don't know if that makes no sense. Like the themes of contemporary mixed with historical fiction, because you can't be contemporary and historical. I don't know how you fit this book into anything. It was great fun and I have no idea how I would recommend it, but everybody seems to have read this. It took me so long to get around to it and now I finally have. I can't believe it took me so long. Next is an audiobook I listened to right at the start of the year. I couldn't even believe it was this year I listened to it, and that was They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. So this is Our Modern World with a service called Deathcast, which will ring you on the day you're going to die. It won't tell you when in that day, how you're going to die, but it will let you know on the day. So this book is about Matteo and Rufus, who are both going to die today, and they meet through the app Last Friend, where people can meet other people who are going to die, people who just want to be the friend of someone who's going to die, just so they have somebody to spend the time with. So they meet, and it's all about their last day together, and I don't even think it's a spoiler. The title is They Both Die at the End, but it still hurt me so much. I listened to it while I was at work in my old job, and I was just crying. I was a mess. I have tried to read other books by Adam Silvera and haven't got on with them, so I don't know whether the audiobook for Adam Silvera suits me a little bit more, but I would just definitely recommend this book if you want hard-hitting contemporary. It was an emotional experience, definitely, and I would 100% recommend it. Next is a book that's going to be on a lot of people's best books of 2019, I think, and I think it was on more people's best books of 2018, and that is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I did not want to include this book because of how many people will be talking about it, but at the same time, I couldn't leave it out. This was a very special book to me this year. This is about an old Hollywood icon, Evelyn Hugo, and now she's old. She wants to tell her story to the world through, she's chosen somebody, a reporter that nobody has even heard of. She hasn't done any big stories, and she's selected her as the person who will tell her story. And as the title suggests, it goes through each of her 7 husbands and her life at the time of each husband. It was mental. Like, I don't know. I really thought, no, I'm not going to like that book. I'm not going to give in to the hype. I'm not going to read it. And I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. Again, this is another one that I listened to on audiobook and picked up pretty much straight away. I have just checked my note in the front. I read this in January this year, so that's why it feels like so long ago. It was amazing, and anybody who's saying, no, I refuse to give in to the hype, just give in to the hype. It is so worth it. You will not regret it. Next is Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer. This was such a cute book. I was I can't even deal with the glare today. Like, this is awful. I can't still deal with the emotions of this book. This is about, I've forgotten her name, Juliet, who leaves letters to her mother. Her mother has died and she leaves them on her grave as a way of coping and communicating. And one day, Declan, who is doing community service in the I keep saying graveyard, it's a cemetery. I'm going too American with some of these books. Decides to write back. So he just leaves, I think it's a really simple little note back. And Juliet takes it really badly as like an invasion of her privacy. But soon enough, letters are exchanged and a friendship forms, but they have no idea who the other person is. They are just writing back in letters, and they're actually at the same school and they do know each other. So it is very hard-hitting in terms of the subject of the fact her mom's dead and that's why she's writing the letters, but there's a very cute side of it with the development of their friendship, let's say. This is pretty amazing, and it is the second Bridget Kemmerer book to be in my best books of 2019, so I feel like I've really found an author that I'm getting on well with. Last 3 now. The next one, I wasn't trying to include books that were later on in a series, but this one I couldn't leave out, and that's After Ever Happy by Anna Todd. So this is the 4th book in the After series. The After series is about a girl called Tessa, who is a proper good girl. She goes away to college and she falls for bad boy Hardin. He is the everything that you would think of as like bad boy, parents wouldn't like, and she has to go and fall for him. It's just what's going to happen. So the fourth book in the series, obviously I can't talk too much about it because spoilers for the first three. It was insanely long. I'm sure it was nearly 900 pages and I could not put it down. It was amazing. It resolved all issues I'd had with the first three books. Everything summed up very nicely. I loved it, and I definitely think if you've read the third one and you didn't like it, because I wasn't a massive fan of the third one, just give the last one a chance. It was amazing and probably the best book I read while I was on holiday. It was perfect beach reading. Next, I read a book that was on the recommendation of Brittany, and that is The Selection by Kira Cass. So this is a sort of dystopian world where 35 girls get the chance to join a reality show. They're trying to win the heart of Prince Maxon. So this was, I don't know why I love this so much. I think it was the reality show aspect of it as well, which is the same as Are You Watching with the YouTube series. Maybe that's a thing for me. It was very stereotypical, but I loved it. It's like the sort of book that when I was 12, 13, if I would have read this, my mind would have been blown at how amazing it was. But it still sat well at me at the age I am now. So I really enjoyed it. I would definitely compare it to Girls of Paper and Fire, which is why I also read Girls of Paper and Fire this year and had a bit of an issue with it because there were a couple of similarities, and this is fairly old now. I'm trying to find out just while I'm filming, probably should have checked first. 2012, it is a very 2012 sort of book, definitely. But to me, that's not a bad thing. I very much enjoyed it, and I've bought the next 4 books in the series this month, so how fast it will get onto those, who knows? The last book in my list is one that messed with my head insanely, and that's why I couldn't leave it off, and that is Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma. Still don't know. Suzuma. Lauren got me this book for, I want to say Christmas, may have been my birthday last year. I'm going to go with Christmas. This is messed up. This is about a brother and sister who step in to care for their younger siblings instead of their alcoholic mother. They don't choose to, it's just a responsibility that's forced upon them and they struggle with it. So they turn to each other for comfort. This is literally the story of a brother and sister who fall in love. It was disgusting. I was reading it, my skin was crawling, I hated it, but it's so well written that your head starts turning, you start sympathizing, you understand all their emotions, and at the same time you're like, no, this is so disgusting and wrong, but it's written so well that you're rooting for them, and it messed with my head. So definitely don't read, this isn't for the faint of heart. Like, you need some sort of emotional support when you read this book, but it's so well written that it messes with your head, and that's why I couldn't leave it off this list. So those are the 15 books that were my favourite this year. I really hope that you guys loved some of these books too. If you did, comment and let me know, because I'd love to talk to somebody about them. Thank you for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.